So today I'm going to, share with Miss Evelyn what is exactly the best jobs for her. What is it? Like high work ethic, right? Today we're talking about how Miss Evelyn Musa. I'm talking about like, how Miss Evelyn can earn money reliably, right? There are three options, right? You either build a um, community through like donating some of your earnings to the needy, through sponsorships and reimbursement from rich individuals, or something through high work ethic, right? Which is one of the main things we're gonna try to explain on the forefront. So for Capricorn in the fourth house, uh, how you should try to earn money, right? This is some sort of a skill when it comes to new avenues for your new content or your job, right? It's pretty important to what was it? You know, you can try to apply a job like um, a moral teacher, a disciplinary teacher, or someone who fixes other schedules for others. I think that's pretty important. Uh, so this is also high work ethic. Also has a good advantage because it's about um, you tend to internalize, right? Because Capricorn is kind of like the external um, domains of Virgo and both Virgo and Scorpio, right? Think of it Virgo as right effort, which is more like anger management, and Scorpio is more like meditation or less dependent on physical stimulus, and Capricorn is more towards the external factors. I don't remember it as an external factors. The external factors of both of these things, external counterparts. I'm sorry. And so this is something you can really internalize in a good way, and so that's very important that you have that kind of advantage when it comes to being a moral teacher, right? If you already are applying yourself as a moral teacher or a disciplined teacher, right? That's or someone who fixes schedules. That's pretty good, right? I just suggesting what you already know or what you might use. What is your best potential, right? And so that is pretty important. Are there any things? Okay, there are not really much I need to speak about Capricorn fourth house, and so there are other stuff as well. For example, like being. This is the main thing. Okay, don't think I need to speak further. Okay, let me try to then tell you about sponsorships or reimbursement from rich individuals, right? And so this is something like more towards areas or professions that you likely aspire to demand more heavily compensation. This is like fourth house, Capricorn fourth house is more like reasonable compensation through your skills and high work ethic. This is more like heavy compensation. Again, it's very important to. It's not humiliating to ask for sponsorships, but it's best to not be obsessed with it. And if you don't get it, it's just fine, right? Be content with it, and it's very important. So, what are the jobs that you can consider do that? If sponsorships allow, you should try to work on it, right? And so, one thing is about being less dependent on physical stimulus like Scorpio and Fucus. It's really bad. I don't remember what was the that one. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, here is that go. So in a religious terms, right, Scorpio and Fucus usually heavily correlates to right concentration. And so what exactly are a few examples of right concentration? And so let me check, I'm sorry. No. Okay, so something like meditation teachers, for example, or monastics, right? You know, just focus on meditation mainly, right? And it's very important, right? If you have someone who sponsorships, I know like some pretty good ads on like YouTube has like a lot of sponsorships to meditation, so it's a good thing. You should try to explore new content about those, or something like more like jobs that support concentration indirectly, right? These are kind of like bridges. They are not like direct meditation or jhanas or higher meditative states, but they reduce the chaos that prevents it, which are important, right? They don't produce higher meditative states by themselves, but they train the conditions that make it possible. Something like, for example, programmers, researchers, writers, watchmaking, calligraphy, fine art, lab work, park ranger. Archivist is probably my favorite one for Scorpio and Ophiuchus. Librarian, night shift roles. Yeah, archivist is very Scorpio and Ophiuchus. Like I think that's pretty good for a Scorpio and Ophiuchus. Like if someone wants to, you wanted to do TikTok content or YouTube content, new content, and it's a good new direction to try to explore. Um, what's it? Archivist content, right? And try to archive material and to try to maybe elaborate it in detail. So I think that's a good new direction for you when it comes to like if its sponsorships are allowed, right? And so next is also a few things you can try to consider if there are any other sponsorships, though these opportunities appear rarer. One of them is kind of like using mind reading to elevate others' goodness and try to help elevate others' goodness to their personalized catalysts into different mediums like wisdom, integrity, like virtue, sensitivity, right speech, right, good, you know, affectionate speech, etc. Right, this is one of the options. Astrology is basically like that. I know astrology can you be used as a tool to elevate others' goodness, but at least so far of what I know, only my version of astrology is like something that can realistically work on something like that, because all the other astrologers doesn't fit the kind of elevating or like mainly or purely elevating others' goodness, like which is what I'm doing right now. So this is something you can consider as well, right? Doing astrology but to elevate others' goodness, right? And others' goodness doesn't necessarily mean being virtue or not killing or like having good speech. It also mean wisdom, focusing on things that you can control like wisdom, integrity, right? Being integrity, anger management, jhanas, meditation, etc. This is like elevating others' goodness, whereas kind of like the other one is like kind of like being an example and focusing more on what you can control, right? Sagittarius, right? Just now the elevate goodness, others' goodness is about Libra, right? Because Libra is about observing others' behavior and then try to map their personality and then through that kind of personality patterns elevate their goodness, right? I think that's more of a Libra thing, whereas Sagittarius thing is more of a focusing on something that can be entirely depend on you, like for example wisdom, integrity, anger management, jhanas, meditation, and less on money and self-image, right? Things that depend on external um, systems and the world, that depend on the world, right? To try to do less, and then usually you can try to see if any sponsors or reimbursement from which individuals want to sponsor you, right? This will be helpful. But then again, like I said, with the somewhat chaotic economy around the world, especially, I assume Nigeria is a lot less developed economy, so you don't need to demand if you don't find any good opportunities, right? Just focus on the moral teacher thing, distillery teacher thing, helping others fix schedule thing, right? That is like your natural high work ethic, and so that is very important for you to develop first and foremost. If like if you really don't have any other resources to like have any other capital, right, to have something to be don't have any other resources to waste, you can start working on this, right? The work on the moral teacher, right? Disciplinary teacher, teaching morals and stuff, helping others fix schedule, like the Capricorn 4th house. And so the last one I wanted to tell you about is the Virgo 12th house. Now, I do indeed have made another video talking about the Virgo 12th house. It's about a short video, but it's to try to convince people and then gather many people together to host events to try to um, help sweep floors, clean toilets, and taking care of the environment every now and then of monks or monastics or aesthetics or related people, something like that, like yogis, meditators, right? People that very intensively, consistently dwell in meditation a lot more than other people. I think that is, something you can try to host event and then try to collect money and then raise funds, right? And then donate some of those reasonable earnings, right, to the people who are in need, right, to help them with basic utilities and basic food expenses, some things like that. And so it's very it's not as important as your work ethic, right? It's always to build from this, the moral teacher, disciplinary teacher, right, to make sure you have income. But it's good to sometimes do donations and be charitable. No, it's not as important as something like work ethic, for example, but it's important because I personally believe in afterlife and future lives and reincarnation and ethereal realms. And for me, right, it's better to believe it than none. And having donations and charity to people in need about their basic expenses is very helpful for your future life to have a way more abundant amount of resources to work with, right? Right, even if you are pretty decently rich, right, it's also still a really good idea to help other people too, right? Help other people to help them do good dana and karma to help them in their future lives as well, right? I think that is something to priority concerns like 1, 2, and then 3, right? For me personally, at least. If you also believe in past life, you can also try to prioritize like this. So this is the basically what I wanted to share about your advice about how to earn money reliably. Because like I said, being non-exploitative is also an indirect way to build good community bonds, and it attracts money in a very indirect but stable way, right? But this is very direct, right? These two are very direct. This is like indirect but very stable. This is also stable, right? This is like very, you can't control, right? It's a lot of things are outside of control. So this is how I would frame it. So, in summary, is to focus on finding jobs or doing new content to teach morals, right? Even if it's external, it's fine, because of course it would be better if you can act proactively or consciously work on what is the purpose of teaching morals or discipline, right? Is to manage your emotions properly, or manage your emotions in a healthy way so that your anger does not let you to do like significantly worse decisions. Like people, okay, this is another time I might want to say another time. Okay, just say don't significantly worse decisions, right? The other thing is to be less dependent on physical stimulus, because sometimes physical obsessions can really drive us to do way more stupid things that we would prefer to, right? I think that's the important thing, right? But Capricorn is a good intermediate medium, but it's not the final goal, right? It's to be internal. But even doing like external, if you know what the purpose, main core purpose of it was, it will still be very helpful, right? Even if it's something like you just teach external morals and discipline, right? As long as you like internal and try to be, what I suggested, it will be fun, right? This is the high work ethic for you that is developing skills, good internal skills and high work ethic. This is to host events that help taking care of people who has to regulate anger, to make sure they don't internally, so that they don't make stupid decisions, and host events like this, or like taking care of meditators or monks or aesthetics, right? People who dwell in meditation a lot, and host events to help them tidy up their environment, look after their environment, and then to use that kind of earnings and then raise funds to like donate some of those funds, right, reasonably to the needy to help them with their basic expenses. I think that's pretty important. And then finally, when it comes to sponsorships, the main one is that uh, what there are two main ones, because this Sagittarius could also be on the fourth house as well, although very rare occasions. One is about less dependent on stimulus, like meditative jobs, right? Meditation teacher, being a meditation scholar, even, right? You can just do research on meditation itself as well. That could also be new avenues for content. Those are for the last group is more for sponsorships, right? Meditation content, hold up, let me check. Park ranger, archivist, watchmaking, calligraphy, etc. Right? And also like to like you can also do astrology, right? I can't sponsor you obviously, right? Even though my one is probably the best version of Libra, I can't sponsor you right now. So I'm sorry, you have to find other people. But you can try to like, if sponsorships allows you to try to also like try to sometimes, do a little bit of these things, right? Elevate others' goodness using mind reading, right? Astrological readings to elevate others' goodness. Right? These are more sponsorship, right? And there are more uncontrollable factors. But if you're already like pretty decent in these two sectors already, I think sometimes if you need to have some extra money to help out your family and stuff, your friends, right, your community, I think this will be a good third option, right? Third or fourth option to help out. So this is the end of my video. So thank you very much, Miss Evelyn, for providing me with your personal info, so I can help you with maximize your potential in your life. So thank you very much. Goodbye.